On my birthday, I didn't expect much. I had learned long ago that celebrations in my family rarely included me, not in the way they should. Still, a small part of me hoped that maybe this year would be different, that I might be seen, appreciated, or at least acknowledged for the years of sacrifice and loyalty I had given. But instead of a gift, instead of a gesture of love, I was handed an envelope. I remember staring at it, confused, waiting for the punchline, waiting for someone to tell me it was all a mistake. But when I unfolded the paper, the reality hit me like a blow to the chest. It wasn't a card, it wasn't a message of warmth, it was an eviction notice. On my birthday, my so-called family had decided that my presence was no longer welcome, that the roof I had worked so hard to help maintain was not mine to share anymore. The cruelty of the timing was not accidental. It was deliberate, a reminder that in their eyes, I had no place, no claim, and no value. And as I stood there with that notice in my hands, they laughed, they shrugged, and they moved on as though they hadn't just ripped away the last thread of stability I had. For years, I had carried them in ways they would never admit. I paid bills when they fell behind. I sacrificed my own savings so that my younger siblings could have what they needed. I endured their cutting remarks and silent exclusions at every family gathering. They tolerated me only when it suited them, but they never embraced me. It was easier for them to paint me as the outsider, the one who didn't belong. There were whispers about my background, careless remarks about my skin, about how I didn't look like the rest. They never said it outright, but the message was clear enough. I was tolerated, not loved. And when the eviction notice landed in my hands, it confirmed what I had known all along. I was not family to them. I was a burden, an inconvenience, someone to be discarded. In the weeks that followed, I tried to rebuild. I found a small apartment, barely enough to call home, but it gave me space to breathe. Still, the bitterness gnawed at me. I had been cast aside without remorse, yet life for them carried on as though I had never mattered. They planned, they laughed, they celebrated milestones without a thought for me. And then came the announcement that shattered what little peace I had managed to build. One of them was getting married. The same people who had thrown me out like garbage were now planning the most lavish event of their lives. Invitations went out. Pictures of wedding dresses and venues filled the group chat I was pointedly excluded from. Word spread quickly, as it always does in families, and I watched from the outside as the perfect wedding began to take shape. But the cruel irony was impossible to miss. While I had been gifted an eviction on my birthday, they were preparing to exchange gifts of love and loyalty in front of hundreds of guests. It was too much to stomach. As the wedding approached, the injustice became unbearable. I thought back to the nights I had gone hungry so bills could be paid, to the times I had swallowed my pride as they mocked me, to the very moment they handed me that eviction notice without a shred of guilt. And now, they would walk down an aisle, dressed in white, celebrated by all, while I was meant to disappear quietly into the shadows. But shadows have power too. Shadows can conceal plans, secrets, movements that no one sees until it's too late. I began to plan my own gift for them, one that would be remembered long after the flowers had wilted and the cake had been eaten. The venue they had chosen was extravagant, almost obscene in its excess. It was a symbol of their vanity, their desire to flaunt what they believed they deserved. Every detail had been carefully arranged. The towering floral arches, the glimmering chandeliers, the endless tables set with fine china. They had spared no expense. But perfection, I knew, could be undone with a single thread pulled loose. Through quiet connections, through favors owed and hands willing to help, I set in motion a plan to unravel everything they had built. On the eve of the wedding, the venue was glowing with anticipation, ready to host the event of the year. But by dawn, everything had changed. The power was gone, the decorations vanished, the tables stripped bare. Deliveries were redirected, access was cut off, and the carefully guarded estate was left in chaos. Guests began to arrive only to find confusion, panic, and a bride on the verge of collapse. The dream wedding they had planned for months had disintegrated overnight, leaving nothing but shame and whispers in its place. They had wanted perfection, but what they received was a lesson in humility, a reminder that cruelty comes with a price. I didn't need to be there to watch the destruction unfold. The frantic messages in the family chat told me enough. They were desperate, scrambling, begging for solutions that would never come. The bride wept, the groom raged, the guests dispersed in disappointment. And in that moment, they finally felt what I had felt when they handed me that eviction notice. The sudden collapse of everything stable, the realization that security could vanish in an instant. My gift to them was not material. It was a mirror, reflecting back their own cruelty in a form they could no longer ignore. In the silence that followed, I found a strange sense of peace. I hadn't just taken away their wedding day. I had taken back the power they had stolen from me. For years I had been diminished, overlooked, cast aside. But no more. I had reminded myself that I was not weak, not invisible, not disposable. They had written me out of their story, but I had written myself back in, with an ending they would never forget. And now I wonder, how many of us have been pushed aside by those who should have lifted us up? How many of us have been told we don't belong, only to discover that strength grows in the places where love is absent? My story may be extreme, but the truth beneath it is not unique. Too many of us know what it feels like to be erased, to be excluded, to be treated as less. But sometimes the most powerful revenge is not destruction. It's the reminder that we exist, that we matter, and that we will not be silenced. Their wedding day ended in ruins, but my life began anew. And that, I think, is the greatest gift of all.